The entertainment world was rocked to its core this week as shocking allegations about Mendeecees and Ciara sent fans spiraling into disbelief. What began as a whisper in the love and hip-hop fan circles quickly erupted into one of the most explosive rumors the franchise has ever faced: the claim that Ciara might be pregnant, and that Mendeecees could be the father. Within hours, social media turned into a battlefield of emotions, with screenshots, cryptic posts, and deleted comments fueling endless speculation. People couldn't tell what was real or fabricated, but one thing was certain: something major had happened behind the scenes. Mendeecees, a man once praised for his redemption arc and dedication to Yandy, suddenly found himself at the center of a storm he couldn't control. Fans who had rooted for his growth after years of struggles and incarceration now questioned whether he had truly changed, or if the old patterns of betrayal and secrecy had resurfaced. Meanwhile, Ciara, known for her own turbulent relationships, became the target of relentless judgment. Every past rumor, every emotional confession, every moment from the show was being reanalyzed as people tried to connect the dots. Yandy's name began trending within minutes as viewers demanded to know how she was reacting to the alleged betrayal. The couple who once stood as a symbol of endurance and loyalty on reality TV suddenly looked like they were heading toward disaster. Comment sections filled with divided opinions. Some refused to believe Mendeecees could do something so reckless, while others pointed out his silence as a sign of guilt. Bloggers and gossip pages had a field day, dropping cryptic hints and exclusive sources claiming to know the truth. Producers of Love and Hip Hop reportedly scrambled behind the scenes to confirm details, knowing that the chaos could either destroy reputations or deliver ratings gold. Even castmates seemed blindsided, with a few allegedly leaking screenshots of private texts that hinted this wasn't just a rumor, something real had gone down, and everyone was bracing for impact. The tension online was electric. Fans refreshed timelines, desperate for a statement, while others began speculating about Yandy's next move. Would she stand by her man, or was this the final straw? As the noise grew louder, one thing became painfully clear: this wasn't just another reality TV storyline. This was personal. Deep emotions, broken trust, and public humiliation were colliding in real time. And for the first time in years, Mendeecees and Yandy's picture-perfect image seemed to be cracking before the world's eyes. The stage was set for heartbreak, confrontation, and chaos, and everyone watching knew this was only the beginning of a drama that would change everything. When the rumor finally reached Yandy's ears, it felt like the ground gave way beneath her. At first, she refused to believe it after everything she and Mendeecees had endured. After years of standing by him through prison, through criticism, through rebuilding their family, how could this even be possible? Friends say she was on set when the first messages came flooding in, her phone lighting up with DMs, mentions, and calls she didn't understand until she saw the words herself. Mendeecees and Ciara? She's pregnant. The silence that followed was deafening. Those who know Yandy say she walked off quietly at first, trying to process it. But when the reality began to settle in, the tears came hard and fast. The woman known for her poise and strength, the backbone of her family, and one of Love and Hip Hop's most respected figures, was suddenly trembling with disbelief. Cameras reportedly caught her breaking down in her dressing room, asking over and over again how Mendeecees could betray her like this. Her mind flashed through every memory: the nights she stayed up writing him letters, the years she defended his name when people called him unfaithful, the loyalty she gave without hesitation. Now that loyalty felt like a knife twisting in her chest. Sources close to her described Yandy as devastated but composed, saying she kept asking for the truth rather than exploding in anger. She wanted to hear it from him face to face. But as minutes turned into hours and Mendeecees stayed silent, her heartbreak began turning into something darker, a storm of anger and betrayal. Every unanswered call, every no comment from him felt like confirmation that the worst might be true. When production halted filming to give her space, Yandy reportedly sat alone for nearly an hour, crying quietly before whispering to a producer, "I don't deserve this." Her pain was raw, real, and impossible to hide. By evening, the news had spread across the network, and everyone on set knew what was coming: the confrontation. Behind closed doors, Yandy confided to a close friend that if this rumor was true, she could never look at Mendeecees the same again. She'd fought too long, sacrificed too much, and believed in their story too deeply to survive another betrayal. That night, fans noticed Yandy's cryptic Instagram story, a black screen with the words, "Sometimes love just isn't enough." It was all the confirmation people needed to know something serious was happening. The internet exploded again, with comments ranging from heartbreak to outrage, as thousands flooded her page with messages of support. For Yandy, this was more than public humiliation. It was a personal collapse playing out under the harshest spotlight imaginable. Every eye was on her, every headline dissecting her next move. Yet, even through the pain, she stood strong, composed, but shattered, ready to confront the man she once believed would never break her heart again. And as the night gave way to morning, one thing became painfully certain. The woman who once fought for her marriage with unshakable faith was now preparing for a battle. She never thought she'd have to fight the battle between forgiveness and freedom. When Mendeecees finally broke his silence, the energy in the room shifted instantly from heartbreak to confrontation, from confusion to chaos. He walked in calm, maybe too calm, the weight of the rumors heavy in the air, but his tone measured, almost defensive. According to witnesses, Yandy stood firm, eyes swollen from crying, demanding to know the truth. "Did you do this to me? Did you betray me?" For a moment, Mendeecees couldn't look her in the eyes. He mumbled that things had been taken out of context, that people were twisting stories for clicks, but Yandy wasn't hearing excuses. Her voice cracked as she reminded him of every promise he made when they rebuilt their marriage: honesty, transparency, respect. The silence between them was sharper than any scream. When he finally admitted that he and Sierra had been talking, it was enough to make Yandy's knees weaken. "Talking?" she repeated, her voice trembling. The word hung in the air like poison. Mendeecees tried to explain that it wasn't physical, that people were exaggerating, but the damage was already done. Every explanation sounded rehearsed. Every justification felt like a lie. The tension was unbearable. Even producers used to drama were hesitant to film the moment. Yandy's hurt turned into anger, the kind that burns slow but deep. "You had the world watching you become a better man," she said, her tone laced with disappointment. "And now you let gossip make a fool out of me?" Mendeecees tried to defend himself, claiming he'd been set up, that Sierra was the one who twisted things. But his words only made it worse. In that moment, the trust between them shattered. Cameras caught the flicker of realization in Yandy's eyes, not just that her husband might have lied, but that the man standing before her was no longer the partner she once knew. The tension spilled over into the rest of the cast, with whispers flying down the hallway. Some sided with Yandy immediately. Others believed there had to be more to the story. But behind the scenes, producers were reportedly torn. Should they protect the couple's privacy or let the raw truth unfold on camera? Mendeecees, visibly agitated, finally stormed out, saying, "I don't owe anybody an explanation." That moment became the spark that turned private pain into public war. As the door slammed behind him, Yandy broke down again, whispering, "You owed me one." And just like that, the relationship that had survived time, distance, and prison now seemed to be collapsing under the weight of deceit. The tension lingered in the air long after he left, thick, suffocating, and irreversible. Everyone knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of a fight that would play out not just between husband and wife, but across every screen, every headline, and every fan's heart. The moment word of Yandy and Mendeecees' confrontation spread through the love and hip-hop set, chaos erupted behind the scenes. What had started as whispers in dressing rooms turned into full-blown shockwaves across production. Cast members were huddled in corners, whispering theories, checking their phones and texting producers for updates. Sierra's name was suddenly on everyone's lips, her every move being scrutinized as the tension bled into every corner of the show. Some castmates felt Yandy had always been the glue, the moral compass who tried to keep everyone grounded. while others quietly wondered if maybe Mendeecees' side of the story had truth to it. Crew members tried to keep filming, but the emotions were too raw, too real. This wasn't just reality TV anymore, this was heartbreak captured in real time. Producers reportedly held an emergency meeting to decide whether to air the footage or give Yandy time to heal, knowing that whichever choice they made would have massive consequences. On social media, fans began dissecting every reaction from the cast. A single eye roll from one star, a vague tweet from another, nothing went unnoticed. Everyone wanted to know who knew what and when. Even cast members who had nothing to do with the situation began posting cryptic messages, feeding into the frenzy. Backstage, security had to intervene at one point when emotions flared between two friends who took opposing sides, one defending Yandy's right to walk away, the other insisting that rumors shouldn't destroy a family. It became clear that the scandal wasn't just affecting Yandy and Mendeecees. It was tearing through the entire production like wildfire. Sierra reportedly refused to come to set, fearing confrontation and backlash, while Yandy, emotionally drained, stayed in her trailer with close friends guarding her from the cameras. The crew described the atmosphere as electric but heavy, with everyone aware that the show's most dramatic moment might also be its most painful. Even longtime producers, used to explosive fights and shocking twists, admitted this felt different, more personal, more tragic. Ratings discussions began behind closed doors, but even that couldn't mask the unease that had taken over the team. Everyone knew that once this aired, nothing would ever be the same again. The friendships, the alliances, the unspoken loyalties, all of it had been shattered under the glare of betrayal. And as filming wrapped that night, a quiet unease settled over the set. The lights dimmed, the cameras shut down, but the damage was already done. The cast walked away in silence, carrying the weight of a moment they all knew would change the face of the show forever. As the world pointed fingers and the headlines grew louder, Sierra found herself drowning in the kind of attention no one wants. The rumor that she was pregnant and that Mendeecees might be the father turned her life into a nightmare overnight. For days, she stayed silent, watching the internet twist every word, every old post, every facial expression from past episodes into evidence. Friends said she barely slept, breaking down in tears as she scrolled through comment sections filled with hate, judgment, and betrayal. Sierra had been through scandals before, but this one cut differently. It wasn't just her name on the line. It was Yandy's marriage, Mendeecees' reputation, and the fragile piece of an entire show. When she finally decided to speak, she didn't come out swinging. Instead, her tone was quiet, emotional, almost broken. In a tearful conversation off camera, she insisted that things had been misinterpreted, that she and Mendeecees had a friendship that crossed blurred lines but never went where people assumed. Yet her words didn't stop the storm some believed her. Others called it damage control. Screenshots and receipts began circulating online, some real, some fake, making it impossible to separate truth from manipulation. Sierra admitted privately that she had confided in Mendeecees during a vulnerable time, that he was someone she trusted, but never intended to hurt Yandy. Still, she couldn't deny that their closeness looked bad, especially in a world where perception is everything. Producers reportedly tried to convince her to film a scene explaining her side, but Sierra refused, saying she wanted no part in exploiting the pain she may have caused. In one moment of honesty, she told a friend, "I never wanted to be the reason a family breaks." Yet, even as she tried to distance herself from the chaos, the damage kept spreading. Fans attacked her online, brands reconsidered partnerships, and castmates kept their distance. She was isolated, misunderstood, and haunted by the weight of a rumor that refused to die. Those close to her said Sierra's biggest fear wasn't public shame, it was facing Yandy. She knew that no apology could fix what had been broken. Whether guilty or not, her silence had made her part of a tragedy that no one saw coming. And as the cameras kept rolling and the story took on a life of its own, Sierra was left alone with the cruel reality that in the world of fame and loyalty, perception can destroy you long before the truth ever gets a chance to speak. When Yandy finally decided to confront Mendeecees one last time, the air was thick with tension, the kind that makes even the strongest hearts tremble. Cameras were rolling, but no one spoke. It was as if the entire world held its breath. Yandy walked in calm, yet visibly broken, the strength in her posture masking the storm raging inside her. Mendeecees sat across from her, hands clasped, eyes heavy with guilt and exhaustion. For a moment, neither of them said a word. Then, Yandy's voice, soft but sharp, cut through the silence. "I gave you everything," she said, her tone shaking with pain. "My loyalty, my patience, my forgiveness. And this is what you do with it?" Mendeecees looked down, fumbling for words, insisting that nothing physical happened, that Sierra meant nothing, that he had been misunderstood. But to Yandy, those words were hollow excuses she'd heard before in different forms, from different men, in different lifetimes. Her tears started to fall, not out of weakness, but release. She wasn't just mourning a marriage. She was mourning the version of herself that believed love could fix everything. "You let the world laugh at me," she said, her voice breaking. "You let people drag my name while you stayed quiet. You protected your pride, but not your wife." Mendeecees tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled back, shaking her head as tears streamed down her face. "You had your chance to be honest," she whispered, "and you chose silence." For the first time, Mendeecees' composure cracked. He admitted he'd made mistakes, that his connection with Sierra went too far emotionally, but he swore there was no affair. "I was lonely, Yandy. I was lost," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't think it would turn into this." But Yandy wasn't moved. Her silence was colder than any argument. She stood up slowly, her eyes empty but her spirit finally awake. "You thought you could play with me like I'm one of them," she said quietly. "But I'm Yandy, and I'm done." Those words hit harder than any scream. Mendeecees lowered his head, realizing he'd just lost the one person who ever truly believed in him. The cameras caught every second the trembling hands, the glistening eyes, the heartbreak that couldn't be staged. When Yandy walked away, she didn't look back. The sound of the door closing behind her echoed like an ending final, painful but necessary. The crew didn't move for a long time after. It wasn't just a scene. It was the death of a love story millions had rooted for. And as Mendeecees sat alone, staring at the empty chair across from him, he finally understood the cost of silence, temptation, and pride. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about the moment a man watched everything he built crumble, all because he didn't protect the one person who protected him most. In the days that followed the confrontation, the fallout was immediate and brutal. News of Yandy's decision to walk away spread like wildfire, dominating every entertainment headline and flooding social media feeds with heartbreak and disbelief. Fans who once celebrated Yandy and Mendeecees as a symbol of endurance were now mourning the death of their love story in real time. Hashtags like Team Yandy and Protect Black Women trended for hours as thousands rallied behind her strength, praising her for choosing self-respect over humiliation. Mendeecees, on the other hand, faced an avalanche of backlash. Every past action, every old interview, every mistake he'd ever made was suddenly being replayed as proof that maybe he had never truly changed. The network stayed silent, letting the drama speak for itself, but insiders whispered that producers were in panic mode, torn between protecting their stars and capitalizing on the storm. Castmates began posting vague statements online, each one adding fuel to the fire. Some supported Yandy, calling her a queen who deserves peace, while others urged fans not to rush to judgment, hinting that there was more to the story. But the public wasn't interested in nuance, they wanted accountability. Sierra, too, found herself trapped in the aftermath, with every apology she made dismissed as damage control. Her name became synonymous with betrayal, while Mendeecees' silence only deepened the perception of guilt. Meanwhile, Yandy stepped back from social media entirely, focusing on her kids and close friends. She released one brief statement through her publicist, calm, classy, and composed, saying only, "I've given my all. Now I'm giving myself peace." Those words struck a chord worldwide. Fans called her the blueprint for strength, for knowing when to fight and when to let go. Behind the scenes, filming resumed, but nothing felt the same. The energy had shifted. The show that once thrived on chaos was now haunted by the real pain of a broken family. Even the crew admitted that no storyline, no edit, no scripted drama could match the rawness of what had just unfolded. By the end of that week, one thing was clear. Yandy wasn't just trending, she had transformed pain into power, heartbreak into a declaration of self-worth. The world watched a woman fall apart, then rise, stronger and wiser, while a man and a show were left to face the ruins of their own creation. In the quiet that followed the chaos, Yandy found herself standing at a crossroads not just in love, but in life. The cameras had stopped rolling, the noise of the internet had faded, and for the first time in weeks, she could finally hear her own thoughts. What she heard wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity. She realized that sometimes closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from choosing yourself when they won't. Friends say Yandy began focusing on healing, turning pain into purpose, channeling her heartbreak into advocacy for self-worth and women's strength. In a reflective moment, she reportedly said, "I didn't lose a husband. I found my boundaries." The words spread like wildfire, resonating with women everywhere who saw their own pain mirrored in her story. Mendeecees, meanwhile, stayed silent, his absence online speaking louder than any apology could. The show teased his upcoming confession in the next episode, promising answers that might either redeem him or seal his fate for good. Sierra remained out of the spotlight, her silence adding to the suspense. As the season closed, viewers were left hanging. Would Yandy ever forgive him? Could love survive betrayal on this scale? Or was this the final chapter of a story that had already run its course? The camera faded on Yandy walking away from the set, her head high, her heart still healing, and her strength undeniable. The world had watched her break, but now they were watching her rebuild, and as the screen went black, one question lingered in every viewer's mind. When the love ends but the spotlight stays, who gets to write the ending, the show, or the woman who finally took back her power?